Good afternoon. I'm Tom Butcher of the Zero Project, and I have the honor of being here with Sue Swenson on my right, the president of Inclusion International. And what we're going to discuss is advocacy in a time of peril. I can't think of a more apposite and suitable topic for discussion. Sue, thanks so much for joining me today. First question is, could you please kick off by explaining to us what an OPD, which is an organization of persons with disabilities, is?
Yes. So it's really important to understand that we have many organizations in the world that are led by persons with disabilities. They are not necessarily OPDs. If they are not representative organizations with democratic structures in place, they are organizations led by a person with a disability. That's important. It's important also that we have professionals who have disability experience and can bring that to their work. It's important that we have other kinds of organizations of people with disabilities that are not representative or democratic. But today I want to talk about the focus only on organizations that have democratic structures in place and that are representative. Because sometimes we get pushed aside by other organizations. It's easier to deal with a professional organization that has a leader who is a person with a disability than it is to deal with a democratic organization that is representative and that has voting structures in place. We have an infrastructure that needs to be funded at Inclusion International. Our members vote on policies. Our council votes on policies. Our board votes on policies. And it's not necessarily fast to work with us. And this infrastructure requires investment and cooperation between people for us in every region of the world except Antarctica, and with all kinds of organizations who are members of us. So our voting members are all organizations run by people with disabilities and their families, and they're all recognized by their government as a nonprofit organization. And that's important. So today, I really have the challenge before me to try to provoke you to think about this. And I may actually provoke you to other kinds of feelings besides just thought. Sometimes that happens because it sounds like I'm insulting organizations that are run by a person with a disability, or that have a staff member who is a person with a disability, and that they put that person forward and say, see, we can cover disability. I used to say when I worked in government, and in the United States I've worked for 3 presidents on appointments from the White House. I've given out hundreds of billions of dollars of grants. So in HHS I ran the developmental disabilities programs. In Ed I ran the special ed programs in VR. And then I went back into Biden and gave out a bunch of money to work on employment goals for people with disabilities to get them out of sheltered workshops. So, I have that background. I have been muzzled for at least 10 years of my life because I worked in government, and there are things you don't talk about when you're in government. I don't work for anybody now. I am a retired person. I do my job at Inclusion International as a volunteer. So let me just say this. If your organization is not finding some way to support democratic organizations of persons with disabilities, either in your local community, at your national level, or at the international level, and you think you work in disability, you are making a terrible mistake. There are many ways to support such organizations. You can work with them, and I'm going to say us, but our organizations, my organization has members at the local level around the world. We also have members at the national and regional level around the world. I'm also on the board of the International Disability Alliance, which is the umbrella organization with members around the world. You can work with us on your projects. Pay us if you're asking us to do work. If you're paying your other partners, pay us. think about if there are ways to support our democratic infrastructure. We are practicing democracy every day of our lives. And that is the thing that is going to save us in this time of peril, in this time of authoritarian threat and far right-wing threat to what is a democratic reality in the world. Practicing democracy is critical for all of us. Join an organization if you can. You can join Inclusion International whether you are a person with an intellectual disability or not. You can join to support us. You won't get a vote, but you can support us. Think about that. Think about what are your neighborhood organizations. It doesn't have to be a disability organization. If you understand disability and you have a neighborhood organization that's working on key issues in your community, join and bring the point of view of persons with disabilities to that organization. Practice democracy. If you say you are a leader, here's probably one of the most insulting things I have ever said. If you say you are a leader, it's very important sometimes to look behind yourself and see if anybody is following you. So many people say they're a leader, and what they mean is they're an opinion leader or a knowledge leader or practice leader. That's really important. Is anybody behind you? And is there a democratic process behind you? That's the only bulwark we have against the authoritarian takeover of our systems. And believe me, if democracy is threatened, people with disabilities are threatened. We only have social protections if we have an opportunity to bring our voice to our government. We only have innovation if our government is funding projects that are meaningful to everyone. Technology, I've funded a whole bunch of technology projects in my government days. It's really important for ICT and employment and education to get funding from government. Guess what? It's the organizations of persons with disabilities advocating in your country or in your state or at your local level. That's where the advocacy is coming from to fund what you are doing. You can't go into a government person and say, oh, I'm so great, I'm doing this wonderful ICT and I won a Zero award. They're not going to fund you because of that. They're going to fund you because your work is meaningful to people with disabilities as defined by organizations, democratic organizations of persons with disabilities. Believe me, I've run an OPD at a national level in the United States, put a lot of work into making sure that we were educating members of Congress about what was useful and helpful to people with disabilities and what was not.
Right.
So there are things online. If you look up OPDs and how to work with OPDs, there are wonderful statements online. CBM has a great text online about what you should be doing and what you should be thinking about. There are people here who can help you with this. Not very many. I don't think I've ever seen an OPD win an award. I mean, a lot of our members have won awards at Zero. And a lot of the programs that I funded when I was in government have won awards at Zero. But I haven't seen OPDs as such win an award for their democratic work.
They're OPDing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's why I say OPD instead of DPO. Disability persons organizations or disabled people's organizations. That puts the disabled person in front. And okay, but some people are making the argument that if you have a big staff and your CEO is disabled, then you are a DPO. No, that is not what the CRPD says. The CRPD says you are a DPO or an OPD if you are a representative organization of persons with disabilities.
Great.
And that's very different. So when I was in government, I always used to tell people who came to me, I would much rather have a spokesperson with a great set of data than I would have a disabled person come and tell me what was the right thing to do. Data, opinion, broad opinion, the kind of opinion that you get when you work with representative organizations is tremendously valuable. And data, we're beginning to have some data that describe the wants and needs of persons with disabilities and their families around the world. it's not a very good data set yet at this point. We're beginning to have that. We're beginning to have some professionals, and many of them are persons with disabilities or persons with experience as family members who can describe the wants and needs of persons with disabilities. That's incredibly valuable. I'm not meaning to suggest it's not. It's also incredibly valuable to have people who understand technology and who reach out to disabled people to help them lead that. That's great. Empathy, no matter what some recent political people have said, empathy is a key skill.
Great. Thank you. I'm cognizant of time, and I want people to understand, we've got just over 4 minutes, but I really want people to understand how Inclusion International fits in the ecosystem.
So we focus entirely on human rights, the human rights of persons with intellectual disabilities and their families. We have a system online now called listenincluderespect.com. You can go there and it will help you figure out how to include people with intellectual disabilities in meetings and decision-making processes. And people with intellectual disabilities have never been well accommodated in meetings. They're tokenized, they're brought to the table, and pretty much ignored. Listen, Include, Respect will tell you how to get past that and how to really listen to people. You will be shocked at the insights that come from people who live with intellectual disability and their families. I guarantee you, you will be shocked by it. So I encourage you to go and look at that. The focus on human rights is, it goes from top to bottom. It goes all the way down to our local members, and it goes to us. I think about it every day. And the goal of human rights is not so that we have conveniences in our life. It's not even so that we have safety in our life. We have human rights so that we can guarantee that everyone has equal human rights in our world, and that's where peace comes from. So I think we are peacemakers.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're working on. I think anyone who's working in the disability space is working on that, because you are helping the most vulnerable people enjoy their human rights in the world. And you should count yourself as a contributor to peace in the world if you do that. I often say this: human rights are not rights that we give to others when we deem them to be human. People with intellectual disabilities are often excluded from being human beings. Human rights are rights that we recognize in our fellow men because we are human. It's our responsibility and our goal as full human beings to reach out and support the human rights of every member of the human family. And that's something that we work on every day.
Absolutely, and we should be doing, and especially now.
Exactly.
Yeah. We've got ourselves just under 2 minutes, so my goodness me, I've taken everything in, and there was an awful lot. So do you think you could just provide listeners, viewers, with 2 key points to take away with them so that they can understand what you're doing and what we can all do together, which is so important at the moment?
Go to listenincluderespect.com. Those guidelines were developed with input from 1,500 organizations and persons in every region of the world, and along with Down Syndrome International. Go there and challenge yourself to use those guidelines when you interact with people with intellectual disabilities. Join organizations. Be part of the democratic movement. Do not allow yourself to only think about your funding or the threats to your position, but instead join, because we are stronger together. We can make change if we're together, and there's all kinds of organizations that need your belonging and your support and your solidarity. They're everywhere. You can find one where you really belong. It's not that hard to do, and I guarantee you will be welcome. So,
wonderful. Thank you so much. Remember, democracy. From what I've taken, that is one of the major reasons. That's
if we lose
what
democracy,
it's all about.
if we lose democracy, we can't protect our planet. We can't protect our progress. we are in big trouble.
We lose. Tom Butcher from Vienna at the UN. Sue, thank you so much.